We also care deeply when employees leave the company. So when an employee exit event occurs in our HR management software, which in this case, again, is Paylocity, it automatically triggers an exit survey sent to the departing employee. We use these exit surveys to identify trends and themes we're seeing with employees that are leaving. This solution doesn't require any additional work from any managers, and it provides a consistent process for collecting employee exit feedback, which is super important to us. So being able to automate the processes with Alchemer means we have more time to spend on our other responsibilities. And by having the consistent stream of feedback data, my HR team can uncover insights that we might have previously missed, things that really matter to the employees. So in short, the automation directly leads to employees feeling supported and valued throughout their entire experience here.
What are you thinking about as an HR team when it comes to an employee exiting the company?
The biggest challenge when it comes to an employee exiting a company is that feedback is often siloed, and collecting the feedback is often a manual process. So employee managers are trained to conduct exit interviews, but in large organizations, this feedback rarely makes it back to the HR team. So many HR teams struggle to understand why employees leave and are unable to make meaningful company-wide improvement due to inconsistent feedback collection and delivery. So we utilize Alchemer to gather consistent and measurable feedback from every exiting employee. We collect honest feedback that people may not feel comfortable sharing in person, and then use this feedback to drive company-wide improvements, combating high turnover rates and improving our overall employee satisfaction.
That's great. And you're right. I mean, there may be employees who may be comfortable sharing something in a survey that they may not feel comfortable talking to someone about. That's great. Kathy, can you show us how Alchemer workflow can be used to better understand why employees are leaving a company?
Sure. So the workflow that we're going to take a look at here, in this case, I've started the workflow with Workday. So just to kind of show you how that's set up, I go ahead and select Workday as my initiator. And Workday works kind of through a webhook. So essentially you would set this up mostly on the Workday side, and you would have it start the workflow whenever there's an event in Workday where the employee has given notice. But on the workflow side, it's fairly straightforward. So you just grab that information and you are ready to start, and it will be always on and listening to whenever you see that kind of event in Workday. So when that event does occur, we have a survey that goes out to the exiting employee, and this survey can contain any number of questions that you're interested in asking. So you would most likely want to ask what factors influenced the employee's decision to leave the company. If there's something specific that you want to know about, for example, if there was a recent acquisition that you think may have likely influenced the decision, you can add that as a question as well. And you can input open text responses as well to see if there's anything that you can draw from there in terms of trends. Going back to the workflow, it's very important that we continue to automate the distribution of information that comes from these surveys, so that it's not just all sitting in this system, but it's actually going to where people who will be using this information are going to see it. And so that may be through email that gets sent out to HR whenever an employee completes the survey, so that someone can go ahead and review that information. And as you start to collect this information over time, you can see trends in the factors that influence people's decision to leave the company, and you can act on those trends to make meaningful changes within the organization.
That's great. That's so interesting. And you learn when people leave, and sometimes people leave because they just got a different position. There are also times where you can really take that information and make meaningful changes and impacts, and it's important to be able to collect that. Can you share a little bit more about what the outcomes are for the exit interview workflows?
Yeah, so obviously we are looking at hopefully lower turnover and higher employee satisfaction over time. After you collect those exit survey feedback responses, you can recommend actions that the company can take to reduce turnover and increase satisfaction. And also by addressing the key factors that are driving employees to quit, employees will hopefully stay longer and are happier and more productive at work. We also see fewer feedback silos. So with workflow, that exit survey feedback can be automatically routed to HR teams like Bryn's without the need for someone to manually send it. And this will reduce those feedback silos where the valuable information that you collect is not used. And it also ensures that you have necessary feedback to make those real organization-wide improvements that reduce employee turnover.